All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Tuesday, November 25th. My name is Everett Delorme, and welcome to the Volleyball Journal. Has been a crazy week of volleyball. I feel like I say that every week, but maybe that every week is a crazy week of volleyball. But this one in particular, so much going on in Poland, so much going on in Italy, so much going on in the Turkish Sultanar Ligi, so much going on everywhere in volleyball, so much going on that I'm not even going to be covering the start of Champions League today. To be honest, I wanted to go live this morning. I wanted to do this morning before the start of Champions League, and just my day didn't go that way. My day did not go that way. Not saying I had a bad day. That was not the case at all. Just a lot of stuff to catch up with. If you're in the Discord, you know I had to go spend some time at the clinic yesterday. And I've also been dealing with a bit of a cold, so just trying to catch up with yesterday spending 4 hours in a clinic for other things, and without any internet too. There was like basically no service, no cell service, no internet, and so it's just really hard to catch up. But we're here now. We are here today. We are here to talk about some volleyball, and I'm not even going to touch on the end of the Beach Volleyball World Championships, a crazy Beach Volleyball World Championships that unfortunately I did not get to watch as much because they were going on in Australia. I live in Canada. Australia is the other side of the world, and it was pretty much impossible, but I do want to give a shout out to Alman and Helvig from Sweden and Nuss and Brasher out of the USA for winning the men's and women's respectively Beach Volleyball World Championships. If I had more time, I would talk about it. Maybe I'll call up Louis Lett and see if he wants to chat some beach volleyball with me, but that is not what we will be talking about today. Today is for indoor volleyball, and now I do apologize if you're watching this on video. I'm going to have a few less slides today. Just the way she goes sometimes. And if you're listening on audio, well, then there's no difference anyways, okay? I'm going to be starting things off in Poland, where also because I didn't do a Friday show, I decided to post the video of the top 10 outside hitters instead. So if you haven't gone to check that out yet, please do so. And then I also posted episode 1 of Pepper with Everett featuring Key Michael yesterday. So if you didn't check out my really good conversation with Key Michael, the fantastic and hardworking and beautiful Key Michael, please check that out. And then tomorrow morning, before we jump in to all of this stuff, and I mean, this is going to be a little bit more, Nuts and Brasher got silver. See what I know. See, look what I know. I don't even know anything right now in beach volleyball. I used to, back when the Beach Volleyball World Tour was doing good numbers. That's all I'm going to say about that, though. Yeah, you're right. The Latvian women. Thanks, Ozzy. The Latvian women. Sorry. I apologize. Shout out to Latvia for Tina Grodina and Anastasia Soimolova winning the gold medal. I did know that, and I just completely forgot it in this time. But then back to what I was saying before, this is a little bit more Plus Liga. Notice I will also tomorrow morning be releasing my conversation with Quinn Isaacson, the setter of Zoxa, that I did on Friday. I did it right after I talked to Key. So that's going to be interesting, and I've got a few more in the works right now. But yeah, now going back to what we're talking about now in the Plus Liga, and the Plus Liga has been nuts. All of a sudden, Zawiercie is the best team in the league. They've won 3 in a row. They've won 4 of their past 5, and they have been absolutely cruising. Now, Zawiercie is kind of packing in all of their matches in at once just because they're going to be headed to Brazil to play in the Club World Championships in December. So they got to make up quite a bit of time for that. And of course, they're also going to be playing in the Champions League, so they've got to make up some other matches for that as well. So Zawiercie has been an absolute truck as of late. They have just been dominating teams left, right, and center as I pull up my notes here and all of my stats. And it started last week, earlier in the week, with a number 1 against number 2, Zawiercie taking on Olsztyn, and that one was an absolute banger, back and forth match with Zawiercie taking it in 5. And then again, they had to take on another one. Like, Zawiercie had a huge week, having to take on Olsztyn who was number 2, and then on Tuesday, and then going into Saturday, they had to take on Resovia, who went into the week undefeated. Of course, they lost on Wednesday to Zaksa. We'll talk about that in a second. But Zawiercie going in, taking on the number 2 team in the league and one of the best teams in the league in Resovia, and coming out unscathed. And then earlier on today, getting a nice 3-0. Yeah, a 3-0 win over Lviv as well. So Zawiercie has just been absolutely trucking. And you know what? It makes a lot of sense to me. When you watch them play, they're one of the best serving teams in the league. They put so much pressure on you from the baseline all throughout the lineup, with Aaron Russell, Tavares, Biniek, Kwolek as well. They're just constantly going at you from the baseline. They also have one of the best offenses in the league as well. And what's even crazier for that to me is that their offense still isn't clicking on all cylinders. It still isn't where they would hope it would be, as they've yet to have a game where all of their outsides are playing their best at once. And I mean, I think the matchup against Olsztyn is a perfect example. Bolange drops 20. He was great, 17 for 31 with a 41% efficiency. A really good bounce back match after a pretty poor match against GSW on Saturday, where he ended up getting pulled off. Aaron Russell was all right, 12 for 26 with a 30% efficiency. Bartosz Kwolek was arguably terrible, 5 for 18 with 11% efficiency. In 5 sets, he only scored 7 points. Didn't pass particularly well either. But Zawiercie still able to pull out the win. And then they go and play Resovia on Saturday, and it's the completely opposite end of the story. Bolange, not great. 5 for 19, only 5 points. He was a minus 16% efficiency in that one. And, Aaron Russell leads the way with 17. He was 15 for 24 with a couple of aces. And Kwolek with arguably one of his best matches so far this year. And he ended up being the MVP, going 11 for 17 with a 58% efficiency and 13 points. So you've got a team out there that is just absolutely trucking, playing some of their best volleyball heading into, the start of the Champions League and the Club World Championships. And this is a team now that is at the top of the standings. They've played 10 matches. Everyone else has played either 7 or 8. So there's that. But they're also leading the league with 23 points. And they have just been so good. Today was another example, just handling a really strong team out of Lviv. And once again, you had a great match from Aaron Russell and Bartosz Kwolek. Russell with 17, Kwolek with 10. Bolange couldn't really get it going this time. At least he wasn't in negative efficiencies, but he was 4 for 7 with 6 points. We saw Kyle Ensing come off the bench, go 4 for 7 with a block and an ace for 6 points in the third to help clinch the 3-dong. But yeah, Zawiercie looking really, really good. And I mean, there's other factors into that too. Popivchuk is one of the best defensive players in the Plus Liga right now. Tavares has been absolutely cooking, running a great offense. Biniek, of course, there's been some great middle performances so far in the Plus Liga. Biniek, Lemansky, Grozdanov has been really good. Danny Demyanenko has been really good. Anton Brema has been really good. But, I do think that the Plus Liga has the best middles in the league. It is the league with the best middles. No doubt about it, in my opinion. But, yeah, some really good performances from Zawiercie, winning 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5. They have been absolutely cooking, and you kind of love to see it. Now, going back to their first match, right, as I mentioned, they played Olsztyn, and this Olsztyn team has been really good. I think you need to give a lot of credit to Johannes Thiele for coming in and setting this offense, because he's made them look fantastic. Hell, if you look at the Zawiercie match, 22 for Karliczek. He was 19 for 34 with a 44% efficiency. Pavel Halaba is much of the same, 14 for 34, 19 points as well. Hadrava even out there, 17 points. So you've got that three-headed monster on the outside. And I mean, I've talked about this before, although when you look at the stats, Hadrava is also one of the best defensive players in the league. So when you have a guy like that who's able to drop 17, who's able to go, get you 3 aces from the baseline and play, and be one of the best defensive players in the league, then you're going to give him a little bit longer of leash. Of course, they still have Arthur Schwartz to be able to go to. But yeah, this Olsztyn team is a lot better than I expected. I think they have to be, it's either them or Skra that has to be my biggest surprise so far of this season, because they have both been absolutely fantastic and you kind of love to see it. I did mention Resovia before, and Resovia goes from being previously undefeated 5-0 to dropping 2 straight. Of course, that 3-2 decision, the 3-0 decision to Zawiercie on Saturday. But before that, it was a 5-set barn burner to Zaksa. And Zaksa has been another hot team. Of course, they did lose yesterday in a tough 5-setter to Gdansk, but Zaksa, previous to that, was on a 3-game heater in their own respect. And I actually talk about that with Quinn Isaacson on that episode of Pepper with Everett that will be released tomorrow. But Resovia, it just seems like they're trying to find what's going to work for them on the outside. They've got 4 fantastic outsides with Yasin Luetzi and Arthur Schaupuk and Lukasz Vashina and Clement Chebul. So you've got 4 guys who in their own rights are legitimate starters, and they just can't really find that mojo between them. And it's been a little bit tough. And I mean, in the match against Zawiercie, where they got downed, Karl Bucherin was all right, 10 for 22, but only with a 31% efficiency. I mean, he only got blocked twice and he had 1 error. So that's not really something that you can fault him on. But Resovia's passing, only 30% positive in this match. They got aced 3 times, but they also had 21 errors, 21 serving errors over the course of just 3 sets. So that is so much, but only one guy, Bucherin, in double digits. 5 for Demyanenko, 5 for Schaupuk, who came off the bench, 5 for Clement Chebul, 2 for Lukasz Vashina, who came in. And yeah, the reception for Luetzi, the reception for Chebul, the reception for Schaupuk, none of them great. Vashina with the only guy who was passing well. He was a 50% positive, but that then again only on 6 targets. But then can't really get it done offensively, going 2 for 7 with a minus 15% efficiency. Aussie, I would say Resovia's outside hitters are all second string in terms of quality. Yes and no. I wouldn't necessarily agree overall. I think that we've seen, especially in the Plus Liga, like we can't really compare it to the Lega Volley. The Lega Volley has better outsides, no doubt about it. And I think that's part of the reason why I rate the Lega Volley higher than the Plus Liga. I mean, we had a very interesting discussion today in the Discord about the top 10 leagues in the world, and of course, people have a bunch of different opinions out there. Crazy to see how many people undervalue Brazil. But that's another conversation for another day, and there will be a video probably coming about that shortly as well. But still, Resovia just unable to find that groove, and that's actually what we heard after this match too. After the match against Zawiercie, where Poreba, the middle, was just kind of saying, we are missing someone to be able to take that ball for us and be our leader and be our main point getter. Because the same thing in the match against Zaksa last Wednesday. You're going into a 5-setter and your leading scorer is Jakub Buczki coming off the bench with 14 points, going 12 for 20 with a 45% efficiency. Karl Bucherin, who can be fantastic at times and then disappears at others, 9 for 19, 10 points. He got subbed out halfway through the third. It is what it is sometimes, but Arthur Schaupuk, who has been really good for Resovia up until this point, 8 for 19 with 8 points. Yasin Luetzi, 11 for 28 with a 28% efficiency out there for 12 points. One of their main scoring threats consistently is Danny Demyanenko down the middle. He went 7 for 12 in this match. And it just seems that Janusz has been unable to find that flow of where that team works good. And I thought they had a really good flow throughout the first 5 matches of the season. And then poof, all of a sudden it disappears. All of a sudden it is gone. And, I think they'll be able to find it. I'm not too worried. But I do think that it just shows how unpredictable this PlusLiga season will be. Because there's so many questions, especially with how good Olsztyn has been playing. Like, do we think that there's legitimately 5 teams in the league right now that could win the title? Because, Resovia just lost 2 in a row. And then on the other side of it, you have Lublin, who was on a 3-match slide. And now they've won 2 in a row. They beat JSW Yashemski Vangel 3-1 earlier this week. And then followed that up with a nice little another 3-1 win over Barkum Lviv. And I mean, Lviv is in a tough spot. I think no one expected them maybe to be as good as they are. And now guys are turning it up against them. But, Lublin playing JSW, I think it is. I think it's definitely now to say that Lublin has a bit of a P2 position problem, right? You've got 2 guys who are rookies to the PlusLiga. Hanno Hiller, for so many ways, is just a rookie altogether, having played all those years at UCI. Whereas at least Jackson Young has a few years at Friedrichshafen under his belt. But still in this one, Hiller was not great. And recently, Ozzy, I'm going to pause this, but Ozzy in the chat saying Rosovia and Lublin seem the strongest right now. I would fully disagree on that. Rosovia just has lost their last 2. We saw Lublin go on a 3-match slide there. Both of them have, Rosovia seems to lack that guy. They continuously have to go to like a 37 or 38-year-old Jakubuchki on the right side to be able to score them some points. Bucharin is all over the place with his consistency. And then Lublin, as I was just saying, has some P2 problems. There's no doubt about it. They've got 2 issues to their game, is A, the reception, and B, that P2 position. Hanno Hiller, or Hiller-Hanno, has been all over the place offensively. And we've seen some matches where he scored 20, and then you have this one where he's 7 for 17 with 11% efficiency. But he did pass lights out, 67% positive and 24% perfect. So that's the case. And in the case with the Jackson Young, they brought Jackson Young in the second and the third. It didn't stick either time because while he passed great, 71% positive, 28% perfect, against a JSW team that doesn't serve particularly tough. There's no one really on that team that really tears the leather off the ball, even though there's no more leather on the ball. And especially now that Nick Surgeon looks like he has gone down with a bit of an injury. They were able to really capitalize on that. But, Jackson Young in this match was 0 for 7 offensively with a minus 72% efficiency. Now, he did really bounce back. He got the start all over the weekend against Lviv. And once again, a really good team match, and you're using a little bit of everyone. But Leon has been up and down all year long. 6 for 18 in the match against Barkum. 12 points. Jackson Young, though, 12 points. He did have 2 blocks and 4 aces. Yuck. But Jackson Young, with a fantastic match from him, 12 for 23 hit with a 34% efficiency, 13 points, 39% positive passing. Kevin Sasek, who has been all over the place as well. He's had some ups and downs, and his confidence has definitely fluttered. He was pretty good, 14 for 31 with 16 points. But for Lublin, it was all about Alex Grozdanov on this day, 14 for 16 down the middle with 6 blocks. Leading the team with 20 points in the win over Lviv. Absolutely huge for the Bulgarian middle. And I have to say, is there any doubt that Grozdanov has been one of the, if not the best middles in the world this year? I mean, you got to think so. You really got to think so. With performances like this, helping Lublin win the PlusLiga last year, they won the Challenge Cup. He goes the finals of the World Championships, Alex Grozanov has been absolutely unreal in 2025, in this calendar year. Now, I think that I think this week I'll have to put up some polls in the Discord. So if you're not a part of the Volleyball Source Discord, the link is below. But I will be putting up some polls in the Discord for us to vote on our position awards for 2025. It's getting to that time. It's the 25th of November, right? Christmas is in 1 month. In 1 month, we'll all be sitting around the fire or the tree, opening presents, and maybe there's a volleyball in there for you. But Alex Grozanov has been absolutely unreal this season for both Lublin and Bulgaria. So, but yeah, just like I said, some crazy results as of late. Lublin stops a 3-game slide with a couple of wins of their own. I mentioned Olsztyn before. They bounced back from the loss to Zawiercie with a 3-0 win over Kuprum on Sunday. Also on Sunday is Warszawa going the distance with Suwałki. Suwałki still in the basement of the league. But if you are Norwid Częstochowa and you are the owners of Norwid Częstochowa, I think it's time to press the panic button. Because if we go back to the screen here with the results, you'll see there at the bottom, last Tuesday, I believe, Norwid losing to Helm, the team that we had pegged to be the relegation team. And now they've looked better than we thought they would, for sure. But Norwid just really struggling to get anything going. And, their reception isn't fantastic. And with Luciano De Cecco, that's kind of something you need. Indra was great once again, 21 points, 18 for 27 with a 48% efficiency. But you are having some left side issues. Milad was all right, 14 points. They went with Lipinski in this one. He had 10 points. But on the other side, Kapica had 16, and so did Esfandiar. Rune Fastland had 9. And Jay Blankenau has just been, big ups to Jay Blankenau. He was brought in to Norwid last year to kind of be not Norwid, I apologize, Helm. And they told him, we want you to help us get promoted. And not only has he done that, but Helm is 2-5. That's kind of more than most people would have expected. They passed the ball pretty well. Jay has been doing a fantastic job at spreading the ball around. Kapica with 23 attempts, Esfandiar with 23 attempts as well. Esfandiar's efficiency is a little bit down, but Remigijus Kapica, 14 for 23 in this match with a 56% efficiency. Yum. And you know what? They also serve really well as a team. 7 aces and 19 errors in only 3 sets of play. So Helm looking much better than a lot of us expected, whereas Norwid, man, it's interesting too, because I talked to, once again, big play up for the Queen Isaacson interview that goes live tomorrow morning, where, he talks about how he still talks to Milad every single day, and he's still chatting with those Norwid guys, and it makes sense. And yeah, this Norwid team, I can't quite put my finger on it. I really can't. Because even just looking at the stats, now I didn't watch this match, I will admit this, but 27 serving errors. 27 serving errors in just 3 sets of play. That's tough work. That's really, you're just putting yourself, and I know 3 aces to 27 errors, that is not a good ace to error ratio. Not good at all. That's 1 ace for 9 errors. And it's not like, Helm is out there passing 50% positive and 32% perfect as well. So if it's not the receive, then it's the serving. And if it's not the first touch, then it's the connection with the left sides and just making so many errors out there. And I mean, they still made 7 hitting errors in this match altogether. So yeah, it's if you're Norvid, this is absolutely not what you were looking for the start of this season, right? This is a team that surprised everyone last year. And now they're surprising everyone again, but just in the opposite way. Just in the other way. Now, as we look at the standings here, we have Zawiercie in first. Of course, they've played 2 more matches than everyone, but still 8-2. Olsztyn in second at 6-2, 19 points. Zawiercie has 23 points. Skra continues to be a very impressive team, and I didn't watch it today, but they did pick up another win over Jastrzębskie. And once again, remember that Skra does not have their big signing from this year. They still don't have Alan Souza in that lineup. So, you're still not rocking with the best team. Oh my goodness, the numbers from this match. Goodness gracious. 26 for Kitigoy, 17 for 28. 20 for Zakieta. Are you going to have a right side controversy out there in Skra when Alan Souza comes back? As I mentioned before, Lemansky, who's been a monster this year with 15, 11 for 13 and three blocks and an ace. So Skra, I don't know which team has been more impressive, to be honest, Olsztyn or Skra. Maybe Skra, because Skra, once again, doesn't have their big signing from this summer. No Alan Souza. They're doing this absolutely with the bench. And Gregor Lomac, one of the best setters of all time, of course, actually out there doing a really good job. 48% efficiency from his team in this one, whereas Jastrzębskie, talk about a team needing to press the panic button, only 24% efficiency in this match. And their offense is just all over the place. Of course, no Nick Scherzen, who has been out with an injury. It looks like a knee injury in the match. I think it was against Lublin last week. So yeah, they have been struggling for sure. Lucas Kaczmarek, who's expected to be one of the leaders, blocked 7 times in this match, 12 for 21 overall with a 23% efficiency. So Skra sitting down there in 8th place. Jastrzębskie sitting down there in 8th place with a 4-4 record, 10 points. And it's funny too, because I'll go back to staying the standings here. Zawiercie at 1, 23 points, 8-2. Olsztyn at 2, 19 points, 6-2. Skra at 3, 6-1 with 18 points. Lublin at 4, 5-3 with 16 points. Warszawa 5-2 with 14 points. Rzeszów, Varsovia 5-2 with 14 points as well. Gdansk 4-3 with 10 points. Once again, they got that really nice win over Zaksa yesterday as well. Jastrzębskie JSW 4-4 with 10 points. Zaksa 4-3 with 10 points. Barkum Lviv 2-5 with 7 points, and that they're in 10th. Helm 2-5 with 5 points in 11th. Suwałki 1-6 in 12th with 4 points. Norvid 1-6 in 13th with 3 points, and then Kuprum 0-7. And Kuprum, once again, that was one that me and Nadnos thought could be a playoff team with the way that they've been playing. So honestly, this is why the PlusLiga is so damn entertaining. Because with Kuprum, like Matis Heno, the younger Heno, has been having a really good season. And we know that Chizoba can pop off at any point and drop 20 to 30 points easily. So we could see, remember, Resovia started the year last year at one point in 11th. And then they ended up with one of the hottest teams in the league. And if Bednorz didn't get injured at the end of the year, who knows what would have happened to that Resovia team. But yeah, just so much interesting stuff going on right now in the PlusLiga. and you absolutely love to see it. Looking forward to this week. A bunch of big matchups. Wednesday, tomorrow, in the early match, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Poland time. Warszawa against Olsztyn. Right? Number 2 against number 5. That is going to be a big one. And then in the late match, Norwid taking on Gorzów. At this point last year, they were the two of the most surprising teams. And this, and they're both in the playoffs. And now, fast forward a year, both of them seem to have made upgrades to their lineups. And now we're seeing them in the basement. Number 13 against 14. And I don't think that there's ever been a more interesting 13 versus 14 matchup in November, right? Those matchups are really interesting in March when it comes down to relegation, but right now could mean a lot. Helm taking on Lviv. That's a 10 versus 11 matchup. Huge. Resovia taking on Skra. 3 versus 6 matchup. That's going to be big. Suwałki against Lublin 2. Gorzów against Warszawa. Gdansk taking on Zawiercie. And then on Sunday, you also have Olsztyn taking on Zaksa. Right? 2 of the most exciting setters in the league who run fantastic offenses. Johannes Thiele and Quinn Isaacson. Once again, shout out. Check out my interview with him that will be going live tomorrow. And if you're watching this at any time past Wednesday, November 26, 2025, that's already live. Check it out on my YouTube or all other channels out there. But yeah, the PlusLiga right now is a jumble in the best way. Is in a absolute jumble. And Emil Thales, suck it. My pronunciation has been so good. Okay? So I did nail all the pronunciations. You're right. And you're welcome. Okay? But yeah, that is my update on the PlusLiga. It is absolute madness in the best way, and I love it. I love watching the PlusLiga so much. If you're not watching the PlusLiga, just do it. Just absolutely do it. There's always illegal streams out there, but of course, you can watch it all on VBTV. If you're in Poland and you had Polsat and you're getting it in 1080, even better. That's awesome. You get proper commentary too on VBTV. We don't even have the option to have the Polish commentary. I would love to have the Polish commentary. I'm literally like teaching myself Italian right now just by being able to listen to the Italian commentary of the Lega Volley. It's great. I absolutely love it. Now, speaking of the Italian Lega Volley, we're going to be moving on now to speak about another league where, you know what, in Poland, we know that in year out, things are going to get a little crazy. Things are going to get a little hairy down the line. We know this. However, in Italy, there always tends to be a very clear hierarchy. You know, every year we have a team that tends to dominate everyone. But this year, it's been rock, paper, scissors. It's been all over the place, right? Perugia beats Lube. Lube beats Trentino. Lube beats Verona. Then Verona beats Trentino. Verona beats Perugia. Then Trentino goes out and beats Perugia. Lube loses 2 straight to Piacenza and now Padova. It's crazy. And all because of this, we have Verona sitting in first place. Their only loss so far this season, that one loss to Lube earlier in the year. So much to talk about in the Italian Lega Volley right now. And of course, have to start with Trentino taking down Perugia. And Perugia on a bit of a 2-game slide. Lost 2 games in a row. Lost one to Verona last week. And now lost to Trentino in 2 very different matchups. Of course, when you play Verona, they're just going to try to beat you from the baseline and then overwhelm you with options. But in this matchup, it wasn't even Micheletto, who I deemed the top outside hitter. Lube can't handle teams starting with a P. You're not wrong. Maybe that's the problem. Is there any other P teams? No, I guess not, eh? Darn. That would be fun. But yeah, there's just so much to talk about here in this Trentino versus Perugia matchup. Trentino takes it 25-21, 25-16. They lost the third 29-27. And I thought it was going to go off the rails there. I really did because, you know, you had Perugia jump out to an early lead in the fourth as well, but luckily, Theo Fort was outstanding. 29 points, season high for him. 23 for 40, 3 aces, 3 blocks. He was absolutely huge, right? Same thing, Micheletto, maybe not his best match of the year, 13 for 31 with a, not so great efficiency. Of course, on the stat sheet, Italian league stat sheet, they don't show you an actual efficiency. They just show you the kill percentage. He hit it 42%. Right. So a really good bounce back match from Trentino as well. And I think that's really what they needed. They got pretty handled by Lube and by Verona earlier this season. And before this match, it looked like they were the clear 4th best team in the league. So for them to be able to bounce back and really, really do a good job was great. I absolutely loved it. But on the other side of the net, Perugia. This Perugia team, man, there's already some people in the Discord. I don't want to name names, but, there's already some people in the Discord who have changed their name to Fire Lorenzetti, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. There's already some people who are out there saying that, riding Kamil Semeniuk in the big 2025 is crazy, what world do you guys live in? But I'm not going to sit here and deny that everything is going well for Perugia right now. I'm not going to sit here and try to gaslight you in saying that this team is as good as we thought they were going to be. And I do think that I'm going to have to do a bit of a breakdown of their offense because I've been watching some of their stuff back on Volley metrics. And I've been watching some of their stuff back on Volley metrics. And their offense just doesn't cook the way that it should. It really doesn't. Bentara wasn't great early on. 2 for 9 in this match. He got pulled after the first with only 3 points. They went to the Croatian Gabriel Savenskar, who had 6 points. He was a little bit better. I don't understand why they went away from him. He was 5 for 7. He was 5 for 7. He got blocked once. 5 for 7, hitting a 71%. But they decided to go to a 3 outside hitter system, which I just don't know why. They decided to put Plotnitsky onto the right, and they rocked with Semeniuk and Ishikawa, trying to keep Ishikawa out of the serve receive. And I mean, I don't really know what was going on. Bentara was ill or injured. Okay, let's hope so, because that was a terrible match. But it seems to be such a thing with Perugia where their outsides can either pass or they can hit. Pass or they can hit. And in this case, I mean, Semeniuk, who has been, I think, really solid for Perugia so far this year, could do neither. He was 10 for 25. He had 5 unforced errors, which for a guy who has averaged under 10% error percentage on the year so far, that's wild to me. Absolutely wild overall. He was over 20% error percentage in this match with 5 errors and getting blocked once. And then on top of that, didn't pass all that great with a 32-20. So Plotnitsky, who has been so good for them offensively in past seasons, 7 for 24 overall. He also got blocked 3 times. And he did pass 67% positive. So there is that. But you've got so much. And then, of course, Ishikawa, 6 for 23. So I've just got some question marks over this Perugia team and what they're able to do right now. Because on the other side of the net, it looked like they were cooking. I mean, all 5 of the Trentino hitters are in double digits. Fall with 29. Micheletto with 16. Jordi Ramon with 14. Bellabarta with 11. Flavio with 10. Both the middles with 8 kills in this one. they were combined 16 for 25 down the middle, was Trentino. Just kind of settling back into how they normally are. Now, Jordi Ramon is still a bit of a liability on serve receive. He got aced 4 times on 40 targets, right? So it just shows like the ball isn't going anywhere near Micheletto. And it's almost like he's looking for that. And he needs that a little bit to be able to get his job done, right? Only 8 targets for Micheletto, 40 for Jordi Ramon. He's serve receiving at least half of the balls right now because everyone knows, you know, if you put the ball on him, that's where you're going to get it. He did get aced 4 times. And, you know, to Ramon's credit, he's actually been playing offensively pretty good. 11 for 23 in this one with a block and 2 aces for 14 points, as I mentioned. But still, kind of shows the way as everyone's going after Ramon. But still, Perugia on the other side of the net just struggling. Just struggling. And I mean, as I said, I thought that Perugia's blocking didn't really wake up until the end of the third. That's part of the reason why they were able to get the job done in the third. But yeah, I don't want to point fingers too much just yet, but I think we need to kind of start looking a little bit at Gianelli. Right? I think we need to start looking a little bit at Gianelli. And I think it needs to be part of a bigger conversation where, especially when I'm talking about, you know, in the Plus Liga, it's the same thing. And the team I'm about to talk to about as well, Lube, is the exact same thing. Is like, I think we're seeing a lot of fatigue right now from the athletes who were really good at the World Championships, were really good this summer, right? Guys like Leon, guys like Gianelli, guys like Semeniuk, guys like Nikolov. You know, I know Nikolov dropped 30 this weekend, but he didn't necessarily have his best match. Same thing with Micheletto, you know, didn't necessarily have his best match. So I just think that we're seeing those dog days of the season come a lot earlier. And Simok saying, I'll give a bit of grace to Gianelli because he just came back from a long sickness. Absolutely. I think we should as well too, but still, I do want to break down their offense a little bit. Maybe we'll make a video about that. Just breaking it down from like a volley metrics point of view, from that baseline point of view, because I will say that one thing I've noticed is that the outside set for like a Lube or a Piacenza actually straight up has one of the best side out rates in the league. Right? They have one of the highest side-out rates, and that really has to do with Paolo Porro. And Boniface is the same way, but both of those teams really run it. Oh, and of course Verona. Have to mention Verona too, with the way Micah has been running that offense, right? They got a nice little 3-dong over Monza, but that's to be expected now. But, you know, those 3 setters really run that ball high to the outside, and that fast ball doesn't die inside. It's getting contacted, you know, at the antenna. It's a fast ball. It's not peaking at the top red of the antenna. It's peaking at the second red. But those guys are able to cut that ball off kind of where they want it. Like if they want to hit that ball at the antenna, they can. If they want to speed up to it on the inside, they can. Whereas the ball from Gianelli tends to fall a little bit more inside. It's the same thing with Bentara on the right side too. It's the same thing for any one of the outsides. And they're hitting that ball kind of within that second meter. From Gianelli, and it's really just shortening things up for that Perugia offense, and it's why it seems like there seems to be a little bit more blocks on a team like Perugia, because there's going to be a little bit more hands in the way, and they're really shrinking some things inside quite a bit. But still, Perugia looking for that Infinity Gauntlet this year. Now it looks like we're going to be playing the Super Cup right before the playoffs, which is a wild time to do it. I don't even think it's happening in Saudi anymore. I think Lega Volley has just been like, I've had enough, and we're gonna pull it out of you guys. But it kind of is what it is. Oh, no longer recording this. Okay, well, we'll just download it afterwards. Sorry for all those who are going to be listening to it on audio. It'll be a little bit late. Actually, I think my computer is full right now, so that would make sense why the recording isn't happening anymore. But yeah, just a crazy result there for Trentino versus Perugia. And then, as I mentioned, Lube losing their second straight, and their second straight to, losing to Piacenza is one thing. That Piacenza, like I said, they have one of the best side-out teams in the world. They've got a fantastic setter. You've got a GOAT middle. You've got guys who could score anywhere. I know they're young, but they're really talented, right? Mandaracha, Bovalenta, Gutierrez. Of course, you've got Simon down the middle, and the way Paolo Porro runs that offense is bellissimo. See, my Italian's getting better, right? But losing to Padova is interesting. Now, I do think that a lot of credit has to go to this Padova team. A lot of credit has to go to this Padova team. Only 4 unforced errors in 5 sets for Padova offensively. Doing really good job at just managing that offense. And you know what? As much as we've harped on him in past years, Gardini has been fantastic, but he wasn't the guy in this one. It was Mattia Orioli. He was 16 for 29 with 5 blocks and an ace, 22 points. Wasn't a match high, though. That was Alex Nikolov with 30. But still, Vjeko Masulovic, 21 points as well. He was 17 for 38 with 3 blocks. Was that Porro? No, sorry. What am I talking about? Gardini had 11, 9 for 28. So I do think that part of the reason why, and I mean, this match played ups and downs. Padova just came out really strong in the first, withstood a bit of a comeback, took the first 25-22, and then it was all Lubes in sets 2 and 3, just playing their game, 25-20 and 25-23. And then in the fourth, they just came out guns a-blazing once again, and the same thing in the fifth. They were up right away with an early lead, 8-5, 16-11, 21-14, for it to end up finishing 25-23, and Alex Nikolov went on an absolute terror of a serving run at the end of that fourth set. And it really looked like they were going to be able to do something special there, and really make that comeback happen from 21-14 to 25-23. But unfortunately, Nikolov, I think he ripped like 2 or 3 aces in that serving run there at the end of the match, or at the end of the fourth set for Lube, and they ended up losing it 25-23, and then they just kind of lose the handle. They just kind of like lost the handle a little bit against this team, and I do think that I kind of question the short leash that Mattia Bottolo is given. They brought in Poria halfway through in the fourth. Like, they brought in Poria in every set, mostly to serve, but they brought him in the fourth set, and he was very meh. He was 3 for 9 offensively. He had 1 ace, but missed 5 on 7 attempts in serving. His passing was really good, though, 75% positive, 31% perfect. But still, it just seemed like, they go down 0-4 right away. And to me, this match almost seemed very similar to the match against Perugia early in the season for Lube, where Bonifante was just kind of forcing the offense just a little too much. And there was just a few minor miscues down the stretch where guys weren't able to take their best swings because maybe the pace was being pushed too much, maybe that location wasn't quite there. Whatever it is for Bonifante, it wasn't quite at the level that we expect from this Lube offense, and especially in that fifth set too. And I mean, they went down 0-4, and then they brought in that double sub of Kurkartsev and Santiago Orduna, and they were able to claw back. At one point, it was 13-11 Lube. But it just seemed, especially like in this match, where whenever they started to gain momentum, that they would just relax. That's exactly what happened in the fourth set, right? They had just won 2 straight, and they just relaxed. That's exactly what happened in the fifth set, too. They were up 13-11, and then they just couldn't quite terminate. They just couldn't quite get the job done. So, yeah, very, very interesting match here for Lube. Overall, I'm not too worried about them because we've seen them play some fantastic volleyball this season, and we've seen them play their best volleyball against the best teams. So This to me breaks down to just another team that has a lot of guys that played a lot of minutes this summer. I do think that you have a bit of a middle problem at Lube with that M2. Wouter here didn't get the start in this one after his performance against Piacenza in the last match. Instead, they went with Davi Tenorio, who 1 block in 3 sets. Not really what you're hoping. He was 6 for 9 offensively. But blocking-wise, it just looked like he was getting lost quite a bit. And there's a lot of one-on-ones for Orioli and Masolovic out there when Tenorio is in the front row. So we'll have to watch that and see what happens there. But yeah, I think for Lube, it's just a matter of just settle down. This wasn't our game. Let's go back to the drawing board and let's make sure that we can execute when we need to. Whereas when you're looking at Perugia, I think has some issues with their offense that they need to fix. Now, I do think that that can be fixed a little bit by just some time. Semeniuk and Plotnitsky and Ishikawa won't be playing like this forever. I still think that it's one of the best outside cores in the world. No doubt about it. But definitely some answers to be answered over there in Perugia. But yeah, this match is a really good win for Padova as well. They've been better than I would have expected. They really have been. Orioli and Gardini have both made a strong case for themselves this year. Gardini did struggle in passing a little bit, got aced 7 times, but still a very good match overall for this team. And Vuk Todorovic running a really good offense. I mean, down the middle, you had Andrea Ciucchio going 8 for 9, 7 for 12 for Alberto Polo, a combined 15 for 21 down the middle for Padova. You love to see it. As I mentioned, of course, Verona also getting the 3 dong. Don't really need to touch all that much on it, as to be expected. 17 for Keita, 17 for Darlin. They hit 60% as a team, only had 4 errors, 8 aces as well, 5 of them for Darlin. As I'm pretty sure Darlin is now the best server in the league. And I mean, early on, also, they didn't even have Rock Mozic in this one. They had Francesco Sani out there who passed fantastic. He was 60% positive on 10 targets. Actually, so did Keita, 55% positive on 20 targets. But then again, Monza, not exactly a team that's really going to bully you from the baseline all of that much. But still, this Verona team might be better. I may have to apologize to Verona. I mean, once again, I did say that I wanted to see them have that success in the playoffs. I wanted them to see them have that success at the end of the season. But still, this team looks a lot better than I expected. But as I mentioned, it does seem like to be a bit of a rock, paper, scissors situation in Italy right now, where you've got 2 really good serving teams with really fast offenses in Lube and Verona. And then you've got 2 teams who are a little bit more solid everywhere in Trentino and Perugia. And they all just kind of beat each other. And they all just kind of needs to get some things done. And, especially on the Verona side, as Alex in the chat is saying, Mozic needs more work. And hey, if you've got a guy like Francesco Sani, ride him. Run with him. Go with him. Why not? Why not? Right? He has been so good. He has been really good this year. People are saying Milano has been improving a lot, and I do agree. Milano has been pretty good. However, when you look at their schedule so far, the strength of schedule from Milano hasn't exactly been there. And now Milano, who's currently sitting in 5th, with a 5-2 record. But, you look through the weeks. For week 1, they go to 5 with Modena. Week 2, they lose in 4 to Piacenza. Week 3, they get 3 donged by Verona, as to be expected. And I mean, yes, they have won 4 in a row, but they beat Monza in 4. They beat Padova in 5. They beat Grottazzolina in 3. They beat Cisterna this past weekend in 3 as well. So I will start rating Milano, when they're able to get that job done against some of the best teams in the league. You know, they haven't had to play a Lube, a Perugia, or a Trentino yet. And they got downed when they played Verona, and they lost to Piacenza. So I think Milano is in that spot. Quantum saying Piacenza may be able to join the elite group with Porro and Mondaraccia both healthy. I don't disagree with that. I think that Bovalenta is an elite opposite product. I really do. He hits weird angles, dude. He hits really weird angles. He's got a crazy rubber shoulder, and he's just able to kind of swing at balls way outside of his appeared range. You know, he's got these long arms, and you can still kind of see that he's still growing into his body a little bit. So I'm interested to see what Piacenza is going to be able to do down the stretch. You know, I think Mondaraccia is a premier left side talent in this league. Bovalenta is a scoring machine. You've got arguably one of the best middle duos with Simone and Galassi down the middle. To me, it's all about how Gutierrez plays, because I'm not too confident in the ability of Lucas Bergman to be able to come off the bench and be elite for this team in the long term. But yeah, the Milano and Piacenza right now both looking fantastic. Yeah, Piacenza is really fun to watch. Porro has that team with the highest side out rate in the league. That's what it is right now for Milano. So unfortunately, you can't really find that. You have to go into Volleymetrics to be able to find those kind of stats, and it's not even like it's kind of a write it down team by team to see. And also, too, it's a lot of work to be able to find that kind of information. But we're working on it. We're working on it. But yeah, the Italian league, man, so much more parity this season than kind of we've ever seen before. You know, Gotha maybe could go on a little bit of a run. Like they went through that mid-season run last year where they were starting to beat teams and they looked like they were going to get relegated before that. Monza, while they've been 1-6, I do think that this is a team that can pop off as well too. Like they have some talented guys in terms of Antanasov and Roars and Luca Martilla. Zimmerman has been a much better setter for them too this year too. Is like I think that Cacioppa moving to Milano and Zimmerman coming in from Monza is a better for everyone situation. So much interesting play going on right now in the Lega Volley. And when we look forward to this upcoming weekend, and I talked about Milano not really playing that high level competition. Well, that changes this weekend, playing Trentino on Sunday. So that will be a fun match to watch. But other than that, you've got Perugia taking on Cisterna, Lube taking on Cuneo, Modena taking on Gotazzolina, Padova taking on Verona, and Monza taking on Piacenza. So a pretty pedestrian weekend, let's say, in the Lega Volley. If you want to check that out, but still, of course, always check it out. Watch some ball, talk some shit in the Discord. Just don't stop fighting, guys. Like let's be better. Although we did deal with all of the drama, okay? And I'm happy to say that, you know, we dealt with all the drama. I talked to all parties, and I think everyone's moving forward together, which you love to see. You love to see it. All right, staying in Italy now, moving to the Lega Volley Femminile. Speaking about a pedestrian weekend, I think this one was a pretty big pedestrian weekend. We had a couple of Champions League / Club World Championships makeups on Wednesday. Of course, Busto going the distance with Conigliano, which is for the second time this season. These two teams have gone to 5. I'm just going to pull up the stats right now. But, of course, Conigliano not starting Gabi at all. They just went with Nika Dalderop and Fatoumata Silla the entire time. And then they even pulled off Isabel Hawk in this match too, going with Merita Jidwe. Jidwe had 15, Dalderop had 18, Silla had 19, Kiri Kella had 14. It was Voloj setting this match. Let's see how it went here for Busto. Melanie Para. I was really wondering if Para was going to be able to handle the pressures of the Lega Volley Femminile. If she was going to be able to score at the same rate that she did this year as she did for TCU last season. And I mean, I know some people who thought that Melanie Para maybe should have been the player of the year in the NCAA last year. But, 21 points in this one, 20 for Josefina Bosa, 18 for Valeria Batista. And it does seem that like when Batista is able to go out there and score, and that's when Busto plays their best. That's when Busto is really out there and, playing some of their best volleyball. And that's kind of what we saw this weekend too, as they got a nice 3-1 win over Perugia. And once again, Para, 17, 13 for 40 in this match. And even though Bosa kind of struggled, you had Batista follow up again with another 15-point outing in this one. Silke van Avermaet as well, too, with another 15 points. Down the middle. 13 for 19. Crazy work. Crazy work out there in the Lega Volley Femminile. So, yeah. This Busto team, I actually think, Tommy and I, when we talked about them earlier in the season and we talked about, some of the more disappointing teams in the league, we both said Busto. And since then, they've been a lot better, right? Since then, Busto has won, they won three of their past four. And doing a much better job. But some of the results from this past weekend, Novara 3-down Macerata, Conegliano 3-down Firenze, Milano 3-down Consolini, Busto, as I mentioned, got that 3-1 win over Perugia, Chieri got a 3-1 win over Monviso, Scandici got a 3-0 win over Valafolia. Shout out to Doli Tukboom, Canadian middle, who's been getting some minutes out there. And then Bergamo, 2 wins in a row. 2 wins in a row for Bergamo. And it seems like they've kind of shelved Cese Montalvo, instead going with Jennifer Moser. I don't even know who she is, to be honest. But Kendall Kipp, 27 points in this match. Huge for Bergamo down this stretch. But Cuneo, who, man, they have been up and down. We saw Erica Pritchard earlier in the year be fantastic, and since then she has really dropped off. She started this one, and then they had to shelf her to the bench. Masa Pucelli, I think it is. It's like the Slovenian J at the end, so I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that name. Actually, I know I saw Key Michael posting hers and be like, how do we pronounce this name? But yeah. And Cuneo, Masa Pucel, 23 points. Binto Diop with 19. Nova Maring with 15. But yeah, Bergamo, as Simok is saying, running on Kip in a dream. 2 straight wins for Bergamo. You love to see it. And I mean, you see how much those 2 wins matter. They were down in a relegation position, and now they pop all the way up to 10th. Just behind Cuneo at 3-8. Of course, we have Imoco Conegliano still in the lead at 13-0, 37 points. Scandici with 11-2 in second. Milano in third. Chieri in fourth. Novara in fifth. Still those 5 elite teams. Busto has bumped themselves all the way up to 6th. Firenze at 7th, you have Valafolia at 8th, Cuneo at 9th, Bergamo at 10th, Macerata at 11th, Perugia at 12th, Monviso at 13th, and Consolini at 14th. So most are played at Kansas and UCLA. I appreciate you, Steven. How you doing? So yeah, just a nice little update there for y'all. Oops, I was saying all of the standings there and wasn't showing you on the screen. Apologize. But yeah, just a pretty solid weekend, other than the Bergamo result and Busto winning their past 3 out of 5. Not much to write home about in the Lega Volley Femminile. But coming up this upcoming weekend, let's see what kind of matches do we have going on this weekend. We've got Cuneo taking on Novara, Conegliano taking on Perugia, Valfolia taking on Monviso. That could be interesting. Busto taking on Milano. Chieri taking on Consolini. Bergamo against Firenze. That one could be a big match. That could be a really big opportunity, right? If Bergamo wins that match, they'll improve to 4-8. And if Firenze loses that one, they'll fall to 4-8. So that one could be, actually, that has to be the biggest match going on this weekend, because the other one is Scandici against Macerata. As we've already had all the big teams play each other in the Lega Volley Femminile, and now it's just kind of everything else going on. That's going to be it for the Lega Volley Femminile to chat about. And now moving on to the Sultanar Ligi, where since they had to take off all of that time, they've just been kind of trying to shove in as many weeks as possible. And week one, you had a big, or not week one, sorry, I guess this is round 6. Round 6, where Fenerbahce and Galatasaray had an absolute banger of a match. And Fenerbahce, I don't know if there's a better two-headed monster in volleyball right now, men's or women's. Okay, maybe Trentino's Micheletto and Teofort. However, Fenerbahce gets the dub in this one in 5, and it was a back-and-forth affair. They took the first 27-25, then Galatasaray responded 25-22, then it was Fenerbahce again, 25-23, then Galatasaray once again, 27-25, then Fenerbahce walked it out, 15-11. But man, Fenerbahce, you know, anytime Melissa Vargas scores 32, you know that's going to be a good game. But she didn't even lead her team. She wasn't even their best attacker. She was 27 for 60 in this match for Fenerbahce. She also had 4 blocks. But man, Arina Fedorovtseva, 33 for 65 with 2 blocks and 2 aces. She had 37. 69 points. 69 of the 97 points coming from just 2 players for Fenerbahce. And I mean, it does make sense. How, like, it is hard to stop that pairing. How do you stop that pairing of Arina Fedorovtseva and Melissa Vargas when they are playing the way that they do? And for Galatasaray, it was all about spreading the ball around a little more. Miriam Silla, 18 for 37. She would have had a team high 21 points. Kaya Grobelna had 17 points out there. Yasmin Guveli had 11 as well. So it was just a back and forth affair. What can I say? But a huge match. And once again, I unfortunately did not watch this one. Now that the Sultanar Ligi is back on, I need to get it back and just into my memory and into my being to remember that all of this is happening. But I don't think it was the other big match this week in that round, as you had Nilüfer taking down Eczacıbaşı in another really big match, and Nilüfer keeping themselves alive nicely. And Eczacıbaşı, I mean, definitely not hitting the panic button just yet, but still, Nilüfer led by Iman Ndiaye, 27 points. She was 24 for 47 with 2 blocks and an ace. Polina Shermanova as well with 19. Brianna Edwards with 16. Eczacıbaşı, 15 for Karakut and 13 for 29, but only a 17% efficiency, so not fantastic. Stisiak as well with a 17% efficiency. She was 14 for 35 with 15 points. So when your 2 stars like that are struggling to score, it's not going to be great, and that's definitely why they lost that match. They had 24% efficiency as a team. Yaprak Erkek as well, 12 for 33. She was slightly better with the 24% efficiency and 14 points. They did take off Alif Shaheen in this match, but brought in Delay Osmadir 3-0 3-dong over Kosoboru. Zarenspor creating that separation against THY. Ilkbank beating Göztepe, Arskargor beating Beşiktaş, and Aydın getting the win as well. And then sorry, I apologize. It just looks like I had a bit of a dip in internet there. So looks like we're back live once again. Yeah, I know I was lagging. I saw the my internet, honestly, like there was a period of time today for like 2 hours where I had no internet. It was garbage. It was bad. But yeah. What other matches was I talking about? Sorry. All my notes just froze at the same time. But yeah, round 7, much of the same. Not much, interesting stuff happened in this one. Pretty much chalk across the board. Beşiktaş beat THY. Eksaşehirbaşı beat Arskargo. Vakıfbank continues to roll. 3-0 Ilkbank. Galatasaray turned things around against Nilüfer. Nilüfer, I guess, emptied the bank in this one. Let me just check the stats real quick for this one. 13 for Silla, 14 for Grobelna. Really surprised that we really haven't seen too much Karatasu so far this year. But still, they were able to get the win. And Ndiaye, not great, 9 for 25 with 10 points. Polina Shermanova with 10 points, as well as Edwards kind of struggled, 8 for 19 overall. And as we look here at the standings, Fenerbahce and Vakıfbank, along with Corneliano, are really the only undefeated teams left in women's volleyball. They are Vakıfbank in first because they have 21 points. Fenerbahce in second because they have 20 points. Galatasaray in third with 16. Zarenspor in fourth with 15. Eksaşehirbaşı in fifth with 12. Nilüfer in sixth with 12 points as well, but they have a lesser set ratio. Arskargo in seventh with 10. Beşiktaş in eighth with 9. THY in ninth with 8. Koziboru in 10th with 8. Aydın with 11 at 6. Ilkbank with 12 at 6. Göztepe at 13 with 4. And Basi Leviler, sorry, I can't pronounce that one. I need Jem to teach me once again, in last with 14th. And I will do better, I think. You guys can let me know when these matches are going on to check out the Sultanar Ligi. And I know that there was a bunch of matches happening today in the SV League, but I just didn't get there, unfortunately. I did not get there, and I did not want to add to it. So now I want to jump over quickly to the Bundesliga, where I'm seeing some of the scores here on the screen. I'm not going to go through them. We don't really need to go through them in the same way that I've gone through on the men's side, but there was, or in the other leagues, but there was a big matchup this past weekend with Düren taking down Lundberg. And Lundberg and Düren continue to be at the top of the league. And I mean, they went into this match 1-2 with Lundberg being the only team to have not lost so far in a match. And why can't I find the stats for this one? Always so confusing in the Bundesliga. But this one was a very interesting match if you wanted to watch it on Friday. Now, I was a little frustrated because normally we could watch them on Spontent, and they wouldn't let us watch it on Spontent. It was geo-blocked, which I thought was terrible. But, the offense for Lundberg just not quite cooking in the same way that we had kind of come accustomed to. And that's mostly because of the Düren serving. Düren, 7 aces, 9 errors only. Jordan Canham, good old Navin boy, leading the way with 18. And another 15 there for Ethan Champlin as well. So Düren, Lundberg, keep on leading the way in the Bundesliga. And you kind of love to see it. I mean, when's the last time? I mean, both Berlin and Friedrichshafen have moved their way up recently, but both of them have losses to both of these teams. They're in 4th and 5th. Gießen is the only team to have beat Duren. They're also up there as well. Although I think they lost. Who did Gießen lose to recently? Oh, it was in the cup. I'm not really sure. I can't really remember that well either. But still, a lot more parity right now in the German league than we are used to. All right, I'm just gonna wrap things up now with a quick touch on the SV League in Japan. Honestly, a pretty pedestrian, if you will, weekend going on in Japan, as I believe it was just sweeps all over the place. Once again, if you're new here, the Japanese league always plays 2 matches in a weekend. They always play either, Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Sunday, or no, I guess they would technically play Friday, Saturday. It's Thursday, Friday for us in North America, but it's Friday, Saturday for them. So they play like Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. Osaka, Suntory Sunbirds, both Osaka teams are at the top of the league, both at 9-1. Suntory got the easy sweep over Voleas. Osaka Blue Tian got the good sweep over Sakai Blazers. You had Tokyo going toe-to-toe with the Hiroshima Thunder, and I just want to pull up the stats on this one really quick, translate it to English because it never does it automatically. Cooper Robinson did have 20 points in this one, but man, Bartosz Kurek with 29. And now Jan Kozamernik is starting this match because Luciano Vicentin unfortunately suffered a bit of an injury early on in the week. But yeah, Tokyo got a 3-2 win against Hiroshima in the first match and then took it 3-1 in the second match. Daitech handled Nagano easily 3-1 and 3-0. And then the Wolf Dogs, Nagoya, took it 3-1 and 3-0 against the Toray Arrows from Shizuoka. This is what we have now for the standings. As I mentioned, the 2 Osaka teams, Suntory and Blue Tian, both in first spot with 9-1 records. Nagoya sitting in third at 3-7. J-Tech in fourth at 6-4. And that was actually 2 big wins over Hiroshima for Tokyo because that brought them level, both teams at 500. At 5-5, sitting in 5th and 6th. Hiroshima sitting just a little bit ahead. Then you've got Nagano in 7th, Toray Arrows in 8th, Osaka Sakai in 9th, and Voreas Hokkaido in 10th. I will just point out that, a lot of people were thinking that, Siobhan Vernon Evans wasn't that great, but that Sakai team was a pretty decent team. It was a pretty decent team over the years that he was there. And then we brought in Matt Anderson, and then this is no hit against Matt Anderson. I know they've changed some of their Japanese guys too, but still, they are sitting currently in 9th with only those 2 wins. So maybe this will be the weekend that I get to watch some more Japanese league volleyball, but somehow I doubt it. I don't know. I just don't necessarily see it in the cards for me. But that will do it for this episode of the Volleyball Journal. Shout out to everyone who stayed this long. Shout out to all of you who have been watching. As I mentioned before, I'd love for you to go give a thumbs up to my top 10 outside hitters in Italy. If you agree or if you don't agree, let me know in the chat, in the comments as well. Of course, there is the first episode of Pepper with Everett that is now live with Key Michael. That one was just a fun conversation. I may have dominated the conversation a little too much. Sorry, Key. I'll be better next time. I had all these questions I wanted to ask her, and it just ended up us just like chin wagging out there talking about volleyball. But then tomorrow morning, going live, will be another episode of Pepper with Everett as I talk to Quinn Isaacson about so much stuff. His current season with Zoxa, his, unorthodox rise in volleyball, his time with the American national team, and so much more. There's some NFL talk in there too, as well, if you're interested in that. So definitely check that out tomorrow morning, and I will see you guys soon for another one. Peace. Bye. Love you all. Have a great night. Adios. Buonasera.